Robert Tucker is the city's new fire commissioner, and he's got more on his plate than just putting out building fires. You know, when Mayor Adams introduced you at your swearing in, he said that he wanted you to be putting out fires inside the department as well as outside. And I think he meant to deal with the decades of discrimination or lack of diversity in the department. How difficult is that going to be for you to deal with?
Well, look, first of all, thank you very much for having me. I'm grateful to the mayor and his public safety staff for appointing me to this lifetime dream job that I now have. This is the greatest fire department in the world, and the EMTs and paramedics and firefighters that work for FDNY are some of the greatest heroes I've ever met. And I'm just getting to know them now. It's my first week as fire commissioner. I've been out at EMS stations and firehouses, and I think there are a lot of good things happening in the fire department, and I'm looking forward to getting my arms around all of the challenges and the good things as well.
We need to point out that at your swearing in, you proudly held up an ID card when you were first an intern, believe it or not, in the fire department. Tell me about that and what that job meant to you and how it sort of turned you into a fire buff.
Yeah, I am a unapologetic fire buff, and I have been since I was a little boy, chasing fire engines up and down Lexington Avenue on my bicycle. I remember.
Did you really do that?
I really did it. And not only did I really do it, Marcia, but on 85th and Lexington, there was a Radio Shack. And I remember when I got a 4-channel scanner with the fire frequency in it. And I didn't have to just chase the fire engines anymore, because I was able then to know where they were going. And so if they got ahead of me, I could still get to where they were going. So I did it. And those were some really, really fun times.
What made you so interested in firefighters and chasing fires? I know you also mapped where there were fires and the patterns of fires. Where did this come from?
What young person in New York City isn't in awe of the firefighters, EMTs, and paramedics and cops? And who doesn't want to be a fireman or an EMT helping people in New York City? At the time when I was young, the fire department and EMS were separate. But I was not just lucky enough to be an intern in the fire department. I was also an intern at the Health and Hospitals Corporation assigned to EMS.
You know, I've always said that one thing about firefighters is it's a very pure job, because all they want to do is save your life. Not all they want to do, but that's what they want to do. But still, there are difficulties on the job, especially lately with the development of lithium ion batteries. And I wonder how you feel the fire department should be dealing with it, and should there be any changes in city policy so that it'd be easier for firefighters to deal with it.
Yeah, well, I want to thank outgoing or former Commissioner Laura Kavanaugh for all the work she did getting us aware of the lithium ion battery problem. It is a big problem. And she and our Bureau of Fire Investigations have done a great job on not just calling out the issue, but also working with our legislators, both city, state, and federally, to address it. There's a lot of work to be done there, and we're going to continue.
Are those the most difficult fires for the department to cope with?
Look, there are all different types of fires, and I was not a firefighter, and I have a huge amount of respect for the men and women who are fighting the fires. There's no question that they're dangerous. We have seen some tragedies here in the city around lithium-ion battery fires. They're toxic. The fire spreads quickly. But our men and women are getting their arms around how to deal with that quickly.
So in dealing with the issue of diversity or expanding the fire department, do you think you're going to have to do new recruitment plans? Like, what are your ideas about it?
I mean, you know, we're always going to be thinking about diversifying further the fire department to look more like our city And that is a top priority of mine. I met with some of the senior leaders of the fire department this morning, and we talked about that. It's something we're going to talk about a lot, and we're going to work very hard to get everyone that we can from all neighborhoods of this city to be a part of this great department.
Do you think it's difficult to convince, like, women, for example, that firefighting is actually a career that they could embark on?
Well, it shouldn't be, and I hope it's not, and I'm going to do everything I can to make the fire department as inclusive as possible.
You know, you've also been a member of the FDNY Foundation, and I wonder, from that vantage point, are there things that you think the fire department needs to embark on, new equipment, new ideas? Like, do you have ideas of where you want to take the department next?
Yeah, look, I'm very proud of the work that the FDNY Foundation does. Fortunately, I've resigned from the board and I'm back on the board as the fire commissioner, so I get to stay very involved in the efforts that the foundation makes around fire safety education. The foundation gives millions of dollars a year to the department for things like training around forcible entry doors and education, both in the community and for firefighters, smoke alarms that we give out for free in lots of communities. At community events, we have a block party this weekend in Staten Island, which I'm excited to be at. And I am very eager to stay involved with the foundation.
I have to ask you this: why did you want this job? I mean, you were a big security firm executive. You've been in the district attorney's office. You've had all these other jobs. Why did you want this one?
Yeah, this is a childhood dream come true. I've said to people that it's like landing an airplane on Fantasy Island. The opportunity to work with the greatest firefighters, EMTs, and paramedics in the world is something I just couldn't say no to. And I also see it as a challenge at this stage in my life to take on something new and to work with some incredibly smart, interesting people. And I'm eager to not just help the fire department, but help the city of New York.
One of the things that I've been concerned about, because I actually, I'm not a fire buff, but sort of I am, is the fact that I think that it's been difficult in the city for response times, given the fact that we have all these new bike lanes and we have more street calming things that block the streets, and we have trucks that double park, and we have all kinds of things that have made it more difficult for fire trucks and ambulances to get where they're going. Are you worried about that, and is there anything that you think can be done?
Yeah, I'm very worried about response times. I mean, every second matters, and we want to get to the scene of emergencies as quickly as possible. I'm proud of the work that we're doing to decrease response times. It's a big priority of mine, particularly in the emergency medical service side of the house, and we're going to do everything we can to keep ambulances out there and keep them getting to the scene of emergencies as quickly as possible.
What do you think your biggest challenge is going to be?
You know, there are so many interesting things to work on in the fire department. I don't know that one is bigger than the other. We have fentanyl, which is a major challenge. We have the environmental temperatures that are changing, that affect our firefighters in fires. There are you mentioned recruiting, and I think that's a challenge that we've made some progress on, and we have more work to do on it. But again, these are the greatest firefighters, EMTs, and paramedics in the world, and I think working with them, challenges will be met.
Well, we're going to have to leave it right there for now, but our conversation continues right after the show on our streaming channel, CBS News New York. We're back with a bonus conversation with New York City's new fire commissioner, Robert Tucker. So I need to ask you, did you ever go to camp as a kid?
I did. I went to sleepaway camp, and I didn't have the best time.
Did you like it?
I did not have the best time, which is how I ended up becoming a summer intern at the fire department.
How did that happen?
Well, it was my parents were not going to let me sit home and do nothing. So as an alternative, they said, get a job. And my mom worked for the late, great Ed Koch.
Wow.
And I said, well, if I could have any job in the world, Mom, can you help me get an internship in the fire department? And at the time, Joe Spinato was the fire commissioner, and he was gracious enough to offer me a summer internship. And so instead of sleepaway camp, I went to the fire department.
So I was actually talking to my producer before, and I was talking about how I hated summer camp, and I tried to escape because I really hated it so much.
I think between the fire helmet on the set and your escape story, we're more similar than different.
So what did you do exactly when you were an intern?
So I was assigned to the communications division of the fire department, and I worked in the dispatch office that was dispatching fire trucks in Manhattan. And I mapped multiple alarm fires using pins.
You did?
And I had a list of 3 years of multiple alarm fires, and white little pins were 5 alarms, green was 4 alarms, red was 3 alarms, etc. And I put pins in this big map of the island of Manhattan, and I noticed that the 5 alarm fires were all clustered in one area.
Really?
And the 4 alarm fires were in another. And it corresponded, interestingly, to where firehouses were. You know, in some ways, the fire department's a victim of our real estate. You can't just move fire trucks around. And so the further you are away from a firehouse, if there's a fire, our response time can be longer. And we've made some changes today to accommodate that. But this was an analog solution to a problem that became
really
digitally solved.
So here's a question for you. Are you more a morning person or a night person?
You know, it's a good question, and I think I'm more a morning person.
Do you have a morning routine? I mean, do you have like...
Yeah, I wake up early. I'm not sleeping that much or that well these days.
Yeah, me neither. Me neither.
And I wake up early, and I try to get a workout in, and I'm a coffee drinker, and I have a couple of cups of coffee. But now I'm with this new job, I'm at the office very early, and want to know what happened the night before and what the day looks like for the fire department.
So what was your favorite cartoon as a child?
Well, that's a really good question. I like the Jetsons.
The Jetsons?
Yeah, I liked the Jetsons. I liked the Flintstones. I was chasing fire trucks on my bike a lot and didn't have that much time for cartoons.
I should ask you, what kind of a bike were you riding?
Oh, a Schwinn.
Of course. What else was there? Do you have a male role model in your life?
You know, my dad is an amazing guy. He's 86 years old. I don't know if you saw at my swearing in, he was holding the Bible for me. He's an amazing guy, a great dad, a great grandfather to my 3 children and my sister's 2 children, and probably the best son I have ever seen.
How did he feel about your fixation with the fire department?
I think he thought it was a little strange, but nevertheless, he's been supportive of me since I was born, and he is. I was on the phone with him in the car on the way up here just now, and he's amazing.
Female role model?
You know, I have lots of female role models. My mother was a woman ahead of her time. She was a 12-year veteran of the Koch administration in the 1970s.
What did she do with Ed Koch?
She ran the mayor's office of special projects and events, and she was one of Ed Koch's right-hand people, and it gave me a really good view of government, and that's why I'm back.
So who's your oldest friend?
That's
or one you've had the longest?
You know, I went to grade school in Manhattan, high school in the Bronx, and my first job was in Queens, and now I'm working in Brooklyn. I've met a lot of people along the way. I've got some
So you've got one in every port?
I have friends from first grade.
Seriously?
I do.
That you still see?
that I still speak to. I got an email from one this past week.
That's amazing. I guess it was a letter of congratulations.
I've heard from some people I haven't heard from since sleepaway camp.
The sleepaway camp that you tried to escape from, we have to point out.
Exactly.
How far did you get?
You know, how far did you get?
I got. Well, it was a.
I didn't get very far.
Well, this was a Girl Scout camp, and it had a tent. Oh. So I had to walk down these rocks to get to the main part of the camp. So I think I got 4 rocks away.
Yeah, I wasn't so smart. I escaped towards the lake.
Well, it shows you sort of like a fire thing because you were going towards water.
Yes, I agree. But I tried unsuccessfully.
Do you have a favorite food?
I love pizza.
Pizza?
Yeah.
Firehouses are going to love you.
Yeah, well, look, there's some great cooking in the fire department, and I'm really looking forward to sitting down, meeting our members, and breaking bread with them.
Do you cook?
I do cook, but not as much as I could, but I'm looking forward to learning from some of our great chefs in the fire department.
I thought you'd bring like your own recipe for, I don't know, pizza, lasagna.
Yeah, I'm good for some things, but not that.
Okay, so if you could have lunch with a celebrity, living or dead, who would you want to have lunch with?
That's a great question. There are lots of people I'd like to have lunch with. I would like to have lunch with the Dalai Lama.
Really?
I would like to have lunch with there are lots of political figures I'd like to have lunch with. I mean, I'm open to learning. I know I don't. I know what I know, and I'm looking forward to having lunch with a lot of active and retired members of the fire department.
Did you ever have lunch with Ed Koch, by the way?
Ed Koch and I kept in touch until his death.
Is that true?
Yeah, yeah.
The thing I remember about Ed Koch, because I actually covered his last 4 years, I know I'm so old, was that he was always going on these weird diets. Yeah. So one of his favorites was the jicama root diet.
Interesting.
But
you got me. I didn't know that. But I have some great memories. The mayor was very kind to me. I think sometimes because he wanted to make sure that my mom was at work, so I could do things that maybe were interesting to me that other kids weren't doing. But I had a great relationship with Ed Koch and have a lot of respect for how he governed this city.
He was an amazing man, wasn't he?
He was.
And on that note, we're going to have to end, but I want to thank you for joining me, and I wish you such good luck as you steer the department forward.
I really appreciate that, Marcia. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you at home for joining us as well.